Let's do it.
All right. Welcome to the Great Plains Masters chat about Taxman 2025. Taxman cometh. So we're going to be breaking down a few things. I'm going to bring up really quick our agenda. I wonder if there's an easy way to just jump in and out of slideshow here. So, wow, it's loading. Awesome. So our agenda is we're going to have a quick introduction here, just led by me. But then we're also going to go over the battle plan analysis. We're going to go over each one of the battle plans that we're going to be playing in Taxman, getting a little bit of behind the scenes behind that, maybe some how-tos on how to play those maps and those missions. Then we're going to go to actual list analysis of the top 10 lists, and then just have some closing thoughts. So I would love to swing it over to Dave to go ahead and talk about our battle plan analysis. Looks like it's misspelled in the slideshow, so that's awesome. Go for it, Dave.
Oh, excellent. What an auspicious and fantastic way to start. But we'll go ahead and get into it no matter what. So first, we're just going to kind of talk about our primary methodology and going into the battle plan analysis. So essentially, you've probably seen this on Joe Vessier's stream before where he was analyzing each of the plans. But the long and short of it is, how far do you have to spread apart? How far do you have to travel to score primary points? Because that's ultimately how you win the game and still be in a position where you can score battle tactics, because that's the other side of the game. So that's pretty much what it came down to. So we'll go into some of the other components here. The average objective number for this entire tournament across all the battle plans is 4.8. There are no three objective maps, which is of note, because typically you'll see like shifting objectives or something, but all the battle plans here have at least four objectives. But it's also worth noting that there are some variable objective mechanics, and we'll get into that a little bit more. So the bottom line up front, we're kind of thinking that more resilient armies are stonks up. This is largely because the interactivity that we're seeing this season with enemy battle tactics depends on killing or engaging with the with your enemy, and if you have a way to have a vote in that interaction, then you're going to be in a better spot than armies that can't really stand up to those punches. And then, like I was kind of alluding to earlier, the distance between objectives is going to also allow you to kind of get an insight on how much armies can effectively advance and spread out their forces without becoming too vulnerable and get into a position they can be exploited. So another thing to consider, even though we're getting away from the book battle tactics and going to grand alliance battle tactics, they're still not created quite equal. A lot of grand alliance battle tactics are not going to be on the same level. Order kind of shining here as some of the most uninteractive battle tactics, and some like destruction not having so good a time. Last, there's also armies that are going to be able to do really well because they are just really able to get into a decisive engagement. They're able to just engage with the foe purely by destroying them instead of depending just on getting points. You can't score points if you don't have an army. Well, you can't score as many points at least. And then just the last kind of a house rule note for the underdog mechanic. The rubric here is that it's a 1 to 5 scale, where one is like all right, GW, thanks for writing something on the card, I guess. And 5 is going for the underdog, can and will be a game determining factor. Okay, our first battle plan is Border of War. It is a 4 objective map along the long table edge deployment. Your territories are halves, which has some implications, namely for battle tactics such as take the flanks. You can't be wholly within your territory, so you have to be 9 inches away from your enemy territory, which means you're going to have a pretty decent movement or a lucky run roll to make that consistent. I rated this underdog mechanic 1 out of 5. You're going to get +1 to hit if you're attacking an enemy unit that's on their home objective. So I mean, it's a nice to have, but definitely not really worth going down in points necessarily for that. Then we'll go into some possible strategies that we have here. So one thing I was considering here is something called deny flank. Because the way the points are administered here, you get more points for controlling your opponent's home objective, which means you need to control yours. And then if you see that these flank objectives are really spread out far apart, if you're spreading out to get both of those flank objectives, you're really exposing your central avenue of approach and leaving your home objective open for grabs. So I would really think that players that can just commit to one flank and their home objective will be in a better position. And then this will also allow you to gain like local kind of supremacy and be able to focus and defeat your enemy in detail, which is an old military strategy. I kind of talked about some of the risks. Some insufficient defense at the home objective allows you to go down early on points. So you want to make sure you're controlling that. And overly broad combat width. If you're spreading too thin, you don't have defense in depth, you don't have a way to countercharge or respond to your enemy's threats afterwards, you're in for a bad time. Battle for the Pass is the next battle plan. It's honestly a pretty similar sort of scenario. It's again for objectives, but now we're oriented along the short battle edge, short table edge for the deployment, and the territories are what I'm calling luxury quarters because we get an extra little slice there. It's possible strategies here because the flank objectives, because it's turned on its axis, are a lot closer together than they were in the previous map. A frontal assault, just literally pushing forward your pile of violence and doing stuff with like double fights with chosen is a viable strategy. You're just going to be able to push the issue really well and not really worry too much about spreading yourself too thin along those flanking objectives because they're a lot closer together. Some risks. Your home objective is further from the expected line of contact where you're thinking your toys are going to be meeting one another. So that means that really mobile units are going to be able to exploit that gap because if you're going along the axis of those flank objectives, you could get outflanked in turn and somebody could come around you. Next, we have focal. It's a fantastic step deployment, which is a nightmare to administrate from a TO perspective, but is still a pretty interesting battle plan, so I rate it pretty highly. The underdog mechanic is pretty powerful here. I played this one a couple of times recently, and being able to control what the central objective is not so important as necessarily winning, because if somebody can just sit on that central objective, they can just control their home in the center and just rack up the points. So if you are thinking about this and going down a little bit early, but remaining in striking distance to control what that central objective is going to be, or just make it worth nothing, can really turn the tide. Then the risks are pretty similar here, where we're not defending our home objective and having that overly broad combat width, because this is a very similar disposition of objectives and orientation of the map. Limited resources. This is a really interesting battle plan. This one, I think, can really separate really quality players from players that just really depend on the strength of war scrolls. This is a 6 objective kind of map because of the mechanics. So if you are on an objective, if you score it twice, you siphon off those resources, and you can still contest that objective, but you can't on it. But I would really focus for your strategy would be to really pace yourself and try to remain just behind or even with your opponent on what they're scoring. For example, if you just deploy on 2 objectives, you really put yourself in a pretty tough position because you're going to score those for 2 turns, and you're not going to score them the rest of the game. If you deploy off of them, you can see how your opponent reacts. You can keep pace with them and be in a better position to have more information and make a better informed decision. You also notice that along the long table edge, these objectives are pretty far spread apart, even though if you look on the vertical axis, they are a lot closer together. So denying a flank and focusing on one west, like for instance the western side of the battlefield, could allow you to control those 3 objectives and then move across more methodically. So deny flank again is a viable strategy. And those risks were kind of like what I was talking. Deploying and contesting objectives when you don't need to is a bad time. And again, that overly broad combat width because of how far spread apart those are. And then lastly, we have Jaws of Galette. This is a personal favorite of mine. Again, it's a 5 objective kind of sort of situation. It's a sort of L deployment as well as the territories. This underdog mechanic is super important. Going underdog here is very strong. You can pull out objectives from underneath your opponent and really shape the battlefield to where your defenses are set up and pretty much set up a trap or ambush and get engaged where you want to. Make the enemy come to you or force the issue and go to where you want to. So possible strategies in those terms is something I call a mobile defense. You can set it up so you can contest objectives when and where you need to, and then get your opponent into a position where you can effectively engage them and bring all your forces to bear. And playing the underdog is super important here. Being able to just stay on the same amount of objectives after you remove, for instance, your opponent's home objective that they deployed on can be really, really powerful. The risks, I say accidentally going up on points can be really detrimental because your opponent can just flip the switch right on you and put you in a pretty bad position as well. And as well, also just kind of losing sight of the battle tactics. If you're just set up for a defense and you're not all charges for stuff I'll go ahead and pass it over to Chase, and we're going to go through the top 10 lists in light of these factors that we came up with.
All right. Yeah, sorry, by the way, the stream has froze like 5 times. I've had to restart it. So apologies for the technical difficulties, but hopefully you've been able to follow along with everything that Dave has kind of gone along with. So next, we're going to talk about the top 10 list really quick before I go to the top 10 list. Carter, Jose, Dave, Joe, did you guys have anything you wanted to talk about with the battle plans? Anything you see that people might need to look out for? Anything like that?
Limited resources, there is a fun trick you can do on deployment where you deploy off, depending on who is going first, which you'll know based on drops, usually. You can set yourself up to force your opponent to deploy on more objectives if you want to. Or you can also deploy off of an objective and then use a redeploy, put yourself onto an objective to deny possibly a 1-2 more in certain situations at the beginning of the game. It's really dependent on what they're doing, but there's a lot of fun stuff you can actually do to mess with your opponent on that battle plan.
I love it. Anybody else? Any other battle plans outside of limited?
I mean, yeah, I guess. I don't know. Who knows? I mean, as always, have your game plan that you want to do. A lot of the game is always adapt to what's going on around you. So like even taking the advice David has, like don't get stuck thinking that's the possible path to victory or the only path to victory, because you can easily get a certain game plan in your head and try to follow it, but not reacting to the situation. Because like Jaws of Galette's a really good one, where like you could try to play underdog, and you start burning stuff thinking, yeah, I'm in a great spot to pull them towards me. And then in reality, like someone is playing with that idea in mind and like they can go exactly when they need to. And suddenly you're just like, oh, I've been losing points to someone who is in a great spot to push forward and like really punish me. So it's like, all great advice, but also like understand like your own tempo and your own, your own strategies you have in your own mind as well, just as a heads up.
If you have two herds of Kroxigor coming at you, playing down on objectives and Jaws of Galette may not be a great idea.
But no asshole would play that, right?
No, never.
No asshole with two eyes would play that.
All right. Any other just topics with the battle plans themselves before we move on to lists? Cool. All right, let's move on to this then.
I got
All right.
something to say on Battleplans. Sorry, I'm in the chat.
Oh, hey Nick, what's up?
Hey, I said I wasn't gonna make it, and listening to y'all made me want to say something. I'm sorry.
Say it. What's up?
When going through these battle plans, a lot of it, I picked them because I like them, because there are a lot of thinking you need to do ahead of time about the battle tactics and whatnot you're going to be doing that turn, like Jaws of Galette setting up for flanks and things like that, and how your opponent's going to respond to that. And that's a lot of what I like about battle plans, is the game planning ahead of time, and the gamesmanship involved in that, where you can kind of split deployments to kind of see where people are going. And one thing I like to do with my Gargants is split my deployment with the babies and throw one over on a corner and try and get them to match that side, or over spend on that side of the board, and then just load everything up on the other side and see what I can get from that. But that was my main thought process with a lot of these battle plans, and I just enjoy most of them. But I'll go back to being a silent and happy observer. Y'all are doing an awesome job.
You can chime in anytime, Nick.
All right, guys.
In whenever. All right, cool. So that, yeah, I mean,
You also.
I definitely think this.
You
is
also.
Go ahead, Joe.
No, I'm sorry. There's also the strategy of just go fast and eat ass.
Yep.
I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yep. When all else fails. Cool. Well, let's do the top 10 lists. The way we came up with these lists is we all had kind of our own measurements of what makes a good list. Some people voted more for truthfully, pilots, I think. Some people voted specifically for, the meta. Some people voted for just what is cool, what, is original. So this is kind of an amalgamation of just everything we found through all 50 or 48 lists, sorry, that we've come to enjoy. So we're going to start with number 10, Clayton Jones. He's got a Highlander should be mandatory title. His Grand Alliance is Chaos, Slave the Darkness, Dark Oath Horde. He's got 4 drops and Spell Lore, Lore of the Damned, Manifestation Lore, Kronspine. He's got in his General's Regiment the Ogroid Myrmidon with the Infernal Puppet, Radiance of Dark Glory, the Ogroid Theridans reinforced with the Dread Banner, a Slaughter Brute, which is amazing. I love seeing just something you don't really see much in Slaves. Of course, in Regiment 1, we got Gunner Brand of the Dark Oath Fell Riders, Singri Brand, the Oathsworn Kin, Regiment 2, Dark Oath War Queen, Dark Oath Marauders reinforced, Mutalith Vortex Beast, another amazing pick right there, and the One-Eyed Granach Mega Gargant Regiment of Renown. This is just one of those lists that I absolutely loved. Seeing this is a list that I don't necessarily think is going to be the best list of the tournament, but this is what I love to see at tournaments. It's people trying fun things, doing something kind of out of the box. So I'd love to hear some of you guys' thoughts on this list.
I don't know what this list does, but I think can't the Dark Oath bring like half a unit back? A dead unit.
Yes.
So he's going to have good board control, especially on things like Jaws.
Also, One Eye, I think, hands out the -1 to hit as well. So, I mean, that's a lot of wounds that can debuff and put out some good damage. So it's definitely a threat by himself that's pretty independent. And there's still some good damage with the reinforced, Theridons there as well. So, I mean, it is a lot of board control. It is a lot of bodies. But it's also just a lot of things people don't usually see, which can be an advantage in the idea of just, someone sees, the Mutalith Vortex Beast and just like, I have no clue what this thing does. So they're going to walk into that a little blind. And that can always be to someone's advantage.
I agree. Confusion is best. Also, I've been told to tell Jose to fix your camera because
Oh,
they can't see your body. To just move that down.
good point.
Cool. Let's move on to the next list. I think again, just for Clay, I think this is a great list. This is something I can't wait to see played this weekend. I really hope to actually grab a game myself against this one and just see what in the world he has plans for. I mean, Kronspine, a Mega Gargant, a bunch of Therodon Ogroids, and then just a bunch of random other crap is going to be just all over the board, and I can't wait to see it.
They know what they're
All right.
about.
Number 9, Benjamin Brown. Lord Croak out here making people schizo, swinging at dinos who don't exist.
That list
So,
name.
Jose, yes.
Yeah,
Jose,
I
tell
can
us
do
what in
this
the
one.
world this does.
So it's Sunclaw Starhost, so he gets to do 3 pylons at the end of the turn with either Kroxigor or Saurus units. Celestial Manipulation will give him the run and charge and the New Comet's Call, which is old Stellar Tempest, so horde clearing spell. And then I think +1 rend to the Agrodon Lancers or the Saurus Guard. So the Saurus Guard are going to be able to do work. Morbid Conjuration, and then Lord Croak. Everyone knows what Lord Croak does. Agrodon Lancers that can do good damage. A unit of the regular Kroxigor, so anti-infantry, and then the extra damage into units with 10 or more models. The Saurus Guard, which are just going to be in front of Croak as he pushes up across the board. Croak has to play pretty aggressive in the current meta, or in his current rendition. And then the Skink Starseer, which is mandatory in pretty much every Seraphon list. He's just got that no ward spell, 18 inches, which is super good, which combos well with Croak, who's trying to do mortal wounds. The Dart Pipe Hunters of Huanchi, they can give you a -1 to wound if they do damage to you. The Bolas, which can reduce your charge dice by 1 dice, which everyone loves. And then the Pterodon Riders are just there as objective grabbers, probably to go up a flank. The list is good. It's pretty much like pretty close to like the meta Seraphon list right now that everyone's running. You just push the warriors or the guard up the middle of the board, Croak behind them doing mortal wounds, and then you've got the Agrodon Lancers as a reactive hammer to whatever comes in to hit those guard. He can just charge them in, or do that with the Kroxigor and wait around. And usually the Agrodon Lancers are is what you want to hold back and be your kind of final hammer that you send in after everything's been chipped down by Croak. What else? The Realm Shaper engine, everyone knows what that does mortal wounds to other pieces of terrain, or if you're standing by other pieces of terrain. Yeah, it's a really good list. It's solid. I mean, I think renditions of this have been taken 5-0s like around the world, so it's going to be a contender.
Definitely. Anyone else have any other thoughts on this? Maybe how to beat it?
Jose, is Croak a trap?
Yes, it is. I would say he's going to shrug off all of the chip damage, so he's not worth like shooting into or anything like that, even though you're tempted to shoot into him because he can't get like cover because he's flying. And then yeah, he's just the big annoying piece that you want to kill, but he's definitely a trap. You want to kill the 2 hammers, the Lancers and the Kroxigor. Once that's gone, then all you have to deal with is Croak and the guard. If you can snipe off those Hunters of Huanchi or the Pterodon Riders, it'll take away some of the board control, because otherwise you're just stuck there fighting those big hammer units without with him just being able to do whatever he wants around the board with those other 3 objective grabbers.
So is this list kind of looking to create a go turn to like push a lot of stuff and just overwhelm you with stuff
It
that's
doesn't.
deceptively fast? I think that's something people don't think about Kroxigor.
Yeah. The run and charge is big. It can have a go turn, but it doesn't have to. Like you can just push Croak up into the middle and just wait for your opponent to respond to that. So he can really control the pace of the game with just pushing that into the middle. But yeah.
Sweet. All right, let's go to the next one. Number 8, Bob Martin's The Might of Moo Ding. Got a Blades of Corn list, 1940 points. He's going pretty low. With the Brass Stampede, 3-drop. He's got Perlor Blood Blessings of Corn, Manifestation Lore Judgments of Corn. A Slaughter Priest as his general, favored by Corn. 2 units of Mighty Skull Crushers. A reinforced unit of Skull Reapers. Regiment 1 is Realm Gore Ritualists, a Color of Contempt. Claws of Karanak. 2 units of Wrathmongers, 1 reinforced. Then a Skull Altar, and he is bringing Brand's Oathbound, Gunner Brand, Sinker Brand, all the Oathsworn kin as his regiments of renown. So who wants to take this one?
I can give some kind of anecdotal insight. I played Bob with a pretty similar list, and yeah, the list is great. It has a lot of cool tech that Corn can do, and the volume of it is just, I think, what does a lot of the lifting. The Skull Crushers are just so tanky, and Bob. The biggest thing here is Bob knows really how to control this. He is a very meticulous player. He does really creative things that I didn't see coming the game, and I think that's probably the biggest strength. Is not so much the list, is it's the player in this instance.
I think you also, the Mighty Skull Crushers are probably going to be some sort of either screens, because they have that walk around with a 2-up save, and they make good objective grabbers as well, because they're not something that you can just go and throw something at them and clear them out. You have to dedicate stuff. Good chance the Wrath front of the Skull Reapers, which case it's like hit into them, kill a few of them, they'll do mortal wounds back when they die, and then they'll probably still have some in combat, which will give the Skull Reapers even more attacks. As much as the Skull Reapers are hard to kill, they also put out a crap ton of damage. And then I'm pretty sure there's the Ritualist. Yep, the Ritualist there will turn probably the biggest terrain piece, or the objective, which gives every Corn unit a whole 12 of it, +1 to hit. So like he's pretty much always sitting on an all-out attack. And then you just have to be careful of the typical Corn stuff of like, murder lusting, things, and moving things around when you don't expect them. So it's like, be mindful and probably ask him about ranges. If you plan on doing something, we need to like charge units into combat, be careful not to declare that and then he just murders lust you and just walks right into combat, so you can't make a charge, or you need to get somewhere, in which case now you're stuck in combat and can't do it. So like things like that are things to be mindful of as well. But yeah, like I said, it's nice because he has the Brands units there can go around and be objective units. The Skull Crushers, if you have someone has threatening pieces that can go play objectives, they could probably switch out the Mighty Skull Crushers to go do that, and then they can play more screening as well. So it's also can adjust pretty well to whatever someone else throws down on the table on the opposite side.
Yeah. And I love Bob. He's a fun guy. You guys enjoy
And he's
playing
been running this list for a while, so he knows
Mhm.
it like in and out, and he knows his
Yes.
matchups well, so he's been doing good with it.
Just don't fight. I mean, that's all it takes. Just run away. All right, going to number 7. Don Trice. It just hurts me to say that he's on this list. I love Don, but it's a bunch of Gargants, guys.
On Trice is a legend.
Just on the board. But Don's
His list
bringing
name is just incredible.
yeah, Taxman List was his list name. It's beautiful. 1930. Sons of Behemoth, Taker Tribe, 2-drop. He's bringing the Primal Energy Manifestation Lore, which I don't think really matters too much. King Broad, of course, the General. Gatebreaker Mega Gargant with the Glowy Lantern. The Regiment 1 has his Gatebreaker Mega Gargant, monstrously tough, and then 3 Man Crushers. This is a time for Nick to jump in. I mean, our resident sparkler Gargant.
There.
What you think, Nick?
Like my main thought on this list is like I can see 41 reasons it'll lose, but yeah, take or tribe, it allows him to take another artifact at deployment, and more than likely he'll put some extra callous feet on that second gatebreaker, so that the gatebreaker leading that regiment is going to be pretty sloppy. He's got some decent shooting, like for Gargants in this list with 2 gatebreakers, 18 inches, Ren 3, 4 damage. Like that's pretty nice. Little babies, their shot sucks, but and he'll be able to cast spells. Can't use places of power. Can't use places of power to get the bonus because they're not officially a wizard, but they also can't unbind, so they got the worst type of wizard with that glowy lantern. But if you can get like a life swarm, and then in addition to Broad's healing and rally, like some of those Gargants can get pretty hard to move, especially when you got 2 of them that are 40 wounds. I'm not a huge fan of Taker Tribe myself. I prefer Breaker for the ward, but he's got 2 options there for hand blizzards. It's it's a good little list. Three littles to run around and either screen or get those objectives or run flanks. So it's a good list, and he's been winning a lot lately. So
except against you.
I hope. Yeah, except for the one game where I beat him 41-11, but that's irrelevant. Like I don't hold grudges. I don't I don't sit around and stew on things about how someone won best destruction after being beat by a destruction player. But that's irrelevant.
No, Don's one of our favorite people. That's why. I mean, he makes
I love Don. Love Don to death, and I hope he's well enough to come down and his foot is not killing him. But
he's stomp on some people with that foot.
He needs
absolutely
extra callous feet himself.
It's a fun list, and I hope he does well.
Agreed. Number 6, Mr. Joe Vucic himself, Iron Jaws Ardboy Summer Road Trip at 1990. Joe, I'm just gonna let you run through this list. Tell us how to beat you.
No. Next list.
Okay, I'll run through your list, but I have no idea what half this stuff does. The Orc Clans, Iron Jaws, Weird Fist, 3-drop, Spell Lore of the Weird, Prayer Lore, War Beats, Manifestation Lore, Forbidden Power. General's Regiment, you have a Weird Knob Shaman as your general. You have Gauja Magrunta with Hack and Crew. And then your Regiment 1, you have Ardboy Big Boss, and Eye for to Fight, and Trophy Skulls. You have 2 units of reinforced Ardboys. Regiment 2, you have a War Chanta. You have a Brute Ragers reinforced and a Weird Brute Rekkas reinforced. This is the bad part about getting your list voted for, Joe, and being one to speak on here. You kind of just get to talk to us about your list a little bit.
Yeah, I know. I didn't vote for my own list, so so yeah, I mean, Lore of the Weird, the big spell in there is the teleport spell. The unlimited spell's pretty good too because it gives the crits do 2 hits on 6s, so generally the Weird Knob is going to be a power level 2, so long as he's wholly within 12 of a unit that has 10 or more models, which, with 40 Ardboys walking around, that tends to be, something that lasts for a while. Until turn 3 or 4. The big pigs are essentially just my objective grabbers. They're going to be running around, being a big pain in the ass because there are a lot of wounds and they can output a lot of damage. It's not hard to maintain high momentum on them, so they have that one attack that does 5 damage, and they're pretty good health and saves, so in which case they're not something that you can, again, just like I was talking about with the Skull Crushers, they're not something you can just go throw like a 5-man unit at. Like they will just destroy most of the small objective units that stand in their way. So they have to dedicate some force. And yeah, the 2 big units of Ard Boys are just going to be a really tanky front that's going to challenge you to come deal with it, because they're just going to move up the board and sit where they need to, and then they'll just sit on objectives and basically say you have to come deal with us. And then I can rally on 10 dice with them. So it's one of those things of, even if you come in and punch them hard, and I can pull units out of combat, if you kill enough, and then I can usually bring back 2 or 3 every rally. So it's something where if you don't finish them off, they will just sort of keep popping up and being a nuisance. And then the Ragers and the Wreckers are really the damage, because if you start throwing things like the +1 damage spell and exploding 6s, and with a wall going, then suddenly you're getting like 5 attacks on Ragers that are exploding 6s, 3s, and 2s, usually -2 and 3 damage apiece. So like there's not a lot of things that can stand up to that. So it's a lot of be careful of just thinking you're going to go in and blow up a bunch of Ard Boys because they sit on a 3-up save. So even if you do blow them up, there's usually something pretty scary behind it. So it's sort of the same thing Jose was saying about Seraphon, like the hammers are the things you got to watch out for and focus on, because the Ard Boys they'll do okay and they can grind well, but the things you got to watch out are those Ragers and Wreckers, which all can run and charge too. So like redeploy and counter charge, you got all that things to look out for. Yeah, I think that's good enough.
Yeah, that's great. That's fantastic. Anybody else
Get
have
the
anything
fuck
to say
off my
about
list.
Anyone else want to talk about Joe's list a little bit? Has anyone played this list? I feel like I haven't played this list, but I've played something relatively close.
I haven't
and
played
they're
against his
relatively.
new list,
About to
but
say
his old
this
list
one I've
was
not.
fucking annoying.
Yeah,
So.
I'll say I played a version of this list and it was not fun. So good luck to everyone this weekend. Number 5, Michael Morley with the Beast Claw Resurgent, 1980, 2000, 2,000 points. Great Alliance Destruction, Ogre. Wow, I can't say that. Maw Tribes, Beast Handlers, 3 drops, Prayer Lore Everwinter Prayers. He's got a Stonehorn, Frost Lord as his general, the Fang of Gur, touched by the Everwinter. He's got a Huskard on Stonehorn with a Blood Vulture, of course. The Stonehorn Beast Riders, Regiment 1 being Frostlord on Stonehorn, Huskard on Thunder Tusk. So many big monsters, and then he has an Icebrow Hunter and some Frost Sabers to finish it off. Whew! That's a
Yeah.
bunch of monster trucks. Was he able to fit an extra one in there? Didn't it used to
No,
be
he actually, I
5?
think he lost one. Yeah, he lost one with the points changes, I believe.
I'll say 'cause there's 6 on there. I
No,
thought there
he
used to
used to play more than that, I think.
Really, man.
Yeah,
It sounds like a lot.
but they lost one of their priests, I believe, due to some of the points changes. So they're not going to be doing as many prayers. The prayers are not that important, really. It's mostly just the changing things into obscuring, which can be impactful. It can really fuck you over if you're a shooting army. There's somebody who
Well,
was playing Sentinels did something like that, and it didn't work out for him.
Well, the big thing
last
too is
tournament.
that prayer also on the bigger effect gives a 5-up ward while they're
Yeah, the
next to
ward
that
can
terrain.
be. You basically don't want to fight them near terrain if you can help it, but they get to choose where they want to do their combats because they're fast and charge and can destroy you with mortal wounds. This army is not enjoyable
All the
to
chargy
play
mortal
against.
wounds.
It's mostly just hope he doesn't roll well and just take your models off the table, and then you get to play. But if you can give him minuses to hit debuffs, that affects him greatly because I think they're base 4s on hitting with a lot of their stuff. And so you can really devastate that.
Is this a turn 1 GFEA list?
It can be. It also can just
waves.
play. He can also just play battle tactics. He can also just send 2 in at a time and just be like, okay, deal with these. Okay, all right, send the next ones in, and just play like that. And he's just gonna want to be able to. He's actually a good player, like really smart guy.
No, Michael's super smart.
But it's definitely an army where you can play it however you want, and your opponent really has to think about how they want to engage. Ideally, you get to charge him and fight before he does. If you do that, you can kill them, but you're not always fast enough to do so. Especially if you're like a Fire Slayers player or something, that must be miserable. I don't
My
know anything
Humies.
about that. Yeah, well, you've got
About that,
shooting, but
I got some
again,
shooting
the
history.
obscuring can really just screw you over. And then redeploys on these guys can be effective as well. So
Mm-hmm.
there's not a lot of great options if you're slow. Just hope that he doesn't run you over. But shooting is a good counter, but again, there's chances where he can set up on the board where you can't shoot him. So best of luck.
Greenwell.
The only thing I was going to say was the trick where if they kill a unit with their like charges, they can, redirect those mortal wounds into another unit. So that's something to watch out for.
Yeah, they've also got a monster section where they will like Tokyo drift over things, like around things, so they can go into your back line if you're not careful and you don't screen out properly.
That's
But
with the Frostlore on Stonehorns, correct?
I believe so. But it can be frustrating if you do not have the large screens to counterplay that, because you could lose a small foot hero without even getting to do anything with him.
Beautiful.
Next.
Awesome. All right. We didn't do this on purpose, but we have two of the speakers in this chat in our top 10 lists. I promise it was not on purpose.
We did it on purpose.
Jose, number 4, like the fist of an angry god. Jose, how do we beat you?
So I'll run through it real quick. It's Sunclaw, so same thing as the last list. I get the pile-in moves at the end of the turn. Celestial Manipulation. I think I got my spells confused when I talked about the last one, because the last guy also had this lore, and it's run and charge, -1 rend to your opponent, and the Comet's Call. So the last list does have the option for run and charge. So those Kroxigor and Agrodons can have a much further threat range than you're expecting. Forbidden Power, and then Old Blood is only there because he lets me build my list the way I wanted to. It's Agrodons, Turtle with the Mortal Wounds, regular Kroxigor Warspawn, which is pretty close to what I have been running. Kind of the only change is instead of like the 10-man unit of chickens that I've had, the Raptidon Chargers, now I have the Agrodon Lancers, which is a little bit more reliable output, and I don't have to really rely on the charge to get like damage 2, so they can grind a little bit better, especially with that pile-in mortal wounds. Starseer, same thing. He can take away your ward. Hunters of Huanchi, same thing. Dart pipes and bolas. Yeah, it's just a fun list that I wanted to try out. Now that I can take Agrodons and Kroxigor in the same list, and we have a cheap hero that can make it happen. It's just 3 hammers. I mean, it's like great value, double Chosen and Varangard is what I normally tell people that I play. So just deal with it like that.
Kirkland signature. It's above great value.
Yeah, and good threat ranges. I mean, with the run and charge, I can engage or usually control combats, and then since I have 3 hammers, I can trade really well as long as I, make good decisions.
The real question, Jose, is why is this not Steg again?
Because I only own like 2.
I've got like 5. You can borrow them.
He's not Caleb.
Awesome. Let's go to number 3. We have the 2 players, 1 shirt, Laron and Dylan running Ionis Quest for Excalibur at 2,000 points. These guys had the same lists, so we decided just to throw them both on here. Stormcast Eternal, Sentinels of the Bleak Citadels, 2-drop. Lore of the Storm, Prayers of the Storm Hosts with Primal Energy. They're both running Ionis Cryptborn, Warden of Lost Souls as their general, Ether Wings, some Concussors Reinforced, Knight Vexilor with Mirror Shield and Envoy of the Heavens, some Storm Great Guard, and then in Regiment 1, a Knight Arcanum, Quester Soulsworn, Storm Coven, Vigilers, And of course, their porta potty faction terrain. Who wants to talk about this one?
They're here to interview as a team.
I mean,
Um,
definitely this one's going to be a really good list, and two really good pilots behind it. So go ahead, Jose.
I was just going to say Ionis got that in the last update, the Ruination keyword. So he
Hmm.
gets the ignore on abilities, which is big. And then he's a 2-cast priest, so he can pretty much always teleport whenever he needs to. So if you don't lift him in one go, he's just going to bail.
And now we can have a ward.
Yeah.
So yeah, they'll be all over the board. There's lots of nice teleports throughout this list. Really fast units. The concussors are definitely strong, reinforced. They're going to come in and slam something really hard. Storm Drake Guard, Storm Drake Guard. I mean, they're kind of another, I guess, smaller hammer there. But there's going to be a lot of people I think don't know exactly what all these units do. There's a whole lot of different units in this, which kind of goes back to that Clayton list precept of just the idea of if you run a whole bunch of stuff, you don't necessarily know what everything's going to be doing. Sorry, Dylan, if the lists are different. They looked
They're not
exactly the
different.
same to me.
Same list.
Dylan, what is
I
different?
mean, oh,
I may have missed it, but they looked the same to me. You go ahead and make your argument, Dylan. It's fine. Either way, we thought it was cute that you guys nearly, if not exactly, matched lists.
Does the Stormreach portal
That
only
was-
work for infantry units, or is it just non-monster? Is that the requirement?
I'm not sure.
I have to look up the rules, but I'm pretty sure anything can really go through it.
He's got a
Dylan has the
priest and not a
priest.
knight or a lictor? Wow.
But I mean,
Oh.
things we know, like we know the Vigilers are giving that
Don't
plus
copy
when they
my
hit.
homework. Just change it a little bit.
But we again, we know the Vigilers are giving the plus when they hit for things that they shoot. The Storm Coven is giving the strike first or strike last, which can, pair pretty well with like the concussors. The Drake Storm Guard, fast, they're tanky themselves. They can go either, as you said, be a little mobile hammer or just go be something that grabs objectives. Concussors again do the mortal wounds and I think can deny on a 3-up the use of command abilities as well. So I mean, shouldn't be too like unknown for people. I think there's a lot of people aren't used to dealing with Ionis, but I think a lot of the armies, if you have good, like a lot of bodies or good defensive stuff, there's not a lot here that's gonna like suddenly drop like 40 wounds a turn type stuff, and the concussors can maybe get towards that, but again, I think that would be the biggest thing. I think maybe against things like your typical slaves list, it could hit things pretty hard if you don't have screens before you get a chance. But if you're putting things up into the sky, you may be able to pull out those better engagements than instead of getting charged. But then you also run the risk of just having your God Summoner just being killed pretty quickly too, because it seems pretty fast of a list as well.
And tell me if I'm right. The Soulsworn are the ones giving Ionis a ward, right?
The Soulsworn just do the teleporting. The Sentinels of the Bleak Citadel, you can pick a Rumination Chamber unit, just gives them a 5-up ward. The Soulsworn can just teleport once per game, and then they can basically just claim an objective, and they get some bonuses for completing their quest.
And then anything with his shooting attack, he can do the soul burn, which makes it so you take damage at the start of every turn, I believe.
Yeah. Yes, the porta potties any non-monster Stormcast Eternal. So basically,
shooting phase, but yeah.
But either way, yeah, like Ionis will probably try to spread around the fire to, sort of do the Zinj thing and just try to get us burning as much as they possibly can just to sort of keep that ticking.
You can rally it off, but it's not enjoyable to spend a CP to get rid of something like that.
Nice. All right. That's
Oh, you can't rally it
can't
up?
rally it up?
Wow.
Oh,
Well, shit. Just get wrecked, nerds.
nice. Okay, well that's a big deal.
Okay. Dang, Ionis is so good.
All right, number 2, Marcus Miller coming in as the reigning champ from last year's Taxman. Marcus Miller is this time bringing Flesh Eater Courts, Lords of the Manor, with Usharan, of course, as their general, the Mara Scroll Herald, Carnal Vestments, 20, a unit of 20 Crypt Guard, 10 Royal Beast Players, Aberrant Archregent, Crypt Haunter Courtier, 6 Crypt Horrors, Vargulf Courtier, Stronger in Madness with 6 Morbeg Knights, the Carnal Throne, Lore of Madness, Rites of Delusion, and Manifested Insanity. Who knows enough about the Flesh Eaters to want to discuss that?
No.
Also, Nick, did you want
None
to
of us
reveal
know
anything about
anything.
Marcus before the weekend, or do you want to save some stuff for the weekend?
I'm spoiled.
Okay, we
Marcus Miller
almost
is
won't
known
know.
as one of the greatest painters of our generation. So
Yes.
we don't know what his Flesh Eater Court list looks like, but it's probably pretty cool.
I
It's
do know
either
what it looks like.
yes.
I got
Okay,
a
some of us know what it looks like, but it's probably pretty cool.
I got a
Just be
I
ready.
got a peek at it at Lone Star, so he was showing me pictures of what he had going on.
Wait, is this his like grand reveal?
Yes, or
Oh
I don't know if
fuck.
he's ran. I don't know if he's ran it
No,
yet, but
this
I
is
would
it. The
say
grand reveal here. You see it first here. You have to come Taxman to see it.
I would say if I would definitely take the time to go look at his army if you guys are there.
Oh yeah,
But
definitely.
Usharan is really good.
Yep.
They did nerf the recursion, I believe. So you have to roll a dice now.
To bring an extra like night unit, so like the Morbid Knights, the Crypt Horrors, you
Yeah.
have to roll 4 up to bring back a second one for it. So the recursion, but I mean, the Knights still move fast and hit hard. Same thing with the Crypt Horrors; they can easily get up to Ren 2, I think. It's gonna move pretty fast. 20 Crypt Guards is a lot of bodies to chew through, and then 100 points for 10 Beast Flayers is pretty cheap. So, I mean, I can definitely see it moving up with some really good screens, has the ability to go play some tactics and flanks as well, and then move quickly to capitalize as the game progresses. And then that whole thing of like, yeah, sure, you killed the Morbid Knights, but then half of them come back, so like you have to constantly deal with these threats, or they'll pop up and like just sort of play objectives. He doesn't have to engage you too much either, unless the battle plan starts forcing him to be on objectives. And yeah, Ushan's always a pain to deal with all of his debuffs and his healing. So I mean, it should be a good list despite the little nerf to the recursion.
Mostly just if you can pop Usharan, I would do it. But that is easier said than done because
Yeah.
he does have fight first, or not fight first, but you can make you strike last, so that can be troublesome.
All right.
And he's going to be surrounded by a bunch of shit.
Jumping on number 1 list that we all chose. Each one of us, I believe, chose this one specific list. It's Sean Sayer's Double Trouble in the number 1 spot, 1970 points. Slaves of Darkness, God's Wrath Warband drops 2, Lord of the Damned, Forbidden Power. In his general's regiment, he has the Gaunt Summoner as his general. Chaos Knights, Chaos Warriors reinforced. Theridens reinforced with the banner of Screaming Flesh. In Regiment 1, he's got Gaunt Summoner number 2 with Infernal Puppet, Radiance of Dark Glory, Chaos Spawn. He's got a Mind Stealer Sphinx, which I believe also gives fights last, and an Ogroid Theridon's reinforced unit down there also. So lots of Ogroids in the Slaves list this weekend. Yeah, this one looks pretty fun though. Not one single Fire Slayer. There's only one single Fire Slayer's list, Larry, in the entire tournament. So, does anybody want to talk about this Double Trouble list, though? We don't want to give Sean's stuff away too much,
cows
but
do
it's
stuff?
pretty much the same. It's they run forward, they slam things. He will make fights last.
one thing to note too is like he has the option to put the Therodons into the Silver Tower with the 2 Gaunt Summoners, so it's one of those things of if your game plan is I'm going to just try to jump on him, then besides the whole Warriors and Knights being good screens, those things can also go in the sky and drop down and hit you from behind. They do great damage as well. The one thing to note that at least if they're droppings with the changes to the Slanesh thing, they don't really always get a guarantee. It's not used to be that it's no longer the 3d6, so that way there's a redeploy is a little bit more valuable here since they're still dropping with the spell I think outside of 7, so getting a good redeploy still makes it a hard charge. But a reinforced unit of Chaos Knights is going to be a hard thing to deal with, so even if they're on the table, it's going to be hard to get to them, and then they can just sort of move up, sit where they need to, and then he just can, if they're not in the sky, those Therodons can just be sitting behind the Warriors, ready to fight. And yeah, that Mind Stealer Sphinx with that thing just handing out strike last with that stuff, it's gonna make for a really hard, center force to deal with. So I would say really pick your engagements well, and then Sean's a really methodical player too, so. It's hard to catch him out of position. So really be ready to go in when you need to, and don't push it unless it's that time where you need to push it.
Yep, it's gonna be tough. Any other comments on list 1?
Slaves of
By the way,
Darkness is trouble. Nothing but trouble.
lots of slaves,
All of you
lots
who
of
brought it.
swarmies. Mm-hmm.
All of you who brought it, boring. I'm just saying.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us tonight, guys. We did have some technical difficulties here at the beginning. Thank you for kind of just letting us get through that as we're jumping into this. We were trying something new, trying to do something in under an hour. Looks like we succeeded. So thank you again for letting us kind of try out something new. Just doing a top 10 list rather than all 48 different lists, repeating the same kind of stuff over and over again, kind of making it a slog. So then I do know a lot of people do enjoy that, but I do appreciate you guys kind of letting us jump on here and go through just kind of our feeling of the top 10. And then just a quick battle plan review. I hope you liked it. If you guys want to see different stuff next time we have a GT or whatever, please let us know. Comments, all that stuff is greatly appreciated. But thanks, guys. Can't wait to see everyone this weekend. David, do you have anything else to wrap us up with?
Nope, just gonna make some comments on the Briarhost channel just about some Sylvaneth stuff. So anybody trying to hear what the trees have to say, you can hop on over there. But that's all I got for this audience.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you. Have a great night. Wait to see you this weekend. Bye.
Y'all take care.